Jay here for Stretford, Paddock, and this is the West Ham preview. Joining me today are two titans of the Manchester United fan base. Adam McCullough, how we doing, Macca?
What's going on? I don't know about that. Dale might be.
And also, it's been a little while. Dale O'Donnell from Stretty News joins us. How you doing, Dale?
Not too bad. I think Titan's been a bit kind, Jay.
I'm going to visit to have Dale back on, by the way.
Yeah, Dale, it's been a little while, man.
Yeah, no, I was around when Everton really started, and I'm delighted to be back now with this new branded channel, and we're going to make things happen.
Good stuff. Good to have you on. Listen, we'll get straight into it. Obviously, a massive game against West Ham. Now, one of the talking points has been David De Gea following the game against Chelsea and the mistakes. There's even been reports that players have been questioning him and questioning whether he's good enough in training. I know we're going to get to the teams later, and I'll get you predicted 11 a little bit later on. But I'll start with you, Macca. What do you make of the David De Gea conversation that we're having, and the fact that these reports are coming out as well, that even some of his teammates are questioning whether he's good enough?
How cheeky is that? How fucking rude is that? If that's not made up, first off, we have to, kind of chuck that in with everything that comes out in the British press. But it has come from, I think it was the Times. So they're not the worst of the bunch, do you know what I mean? So, but how rude is that? David De Gea, who single-handedly probably kept us in the Premier League a few seasons, yeah, and people having the cheek to come out and question him like that. First of all, I think if his performances in training were a problem, he would have been dropped by now. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would have dropped him by now, because that's the biggest excuse you can give up. Like, if you're not performing in training, there's no way you can play. I do think he's been fortunate in the fact that everyone talks about Romero being this great understudy and this great backup goalkeeper, and I think he is a superb goalkeeper to call on sometimes. But is he the goalkeeper to be pressurising their number one, to be knocking down the door and saying, I should be taking your spot? You could argue that any goalkeeper worth their salt should have took De Gea's spot by now. So surely there's something in it with Romero as well, where maybe he's just so comfortable as a number two that there isn't really a challenge there to De Gea. And De Gea's going through a bad time, which has been clear, I think, since the World Cup probably. But he hasn't really been challenged either. We haven't really held him to account for his mistakes. And we're in a difficult position where Ollie probably wants to give Dean Henderson more time out on loan. But then you're caught in a situation where if your keeper continues to make mistakes and cost you games, you have to make a decision. Now, if we were to make that decision this summer, I feel like we need a new goalkeeper. Because I still feel like Dean Henderson isn't ready for the number one job at Manchester United. And that's me being a big fan of his, and I want him to see him do well at United. So with De Gea, I'm hoping that it's just, we've changed our style of football. He's being asked to do different things, and his concentration has taken a hit because he still pulls out some amazing saves that you think, oh, there's De Gea. But it's like after he's made a mistake, and you can't keep going with those mistakes. So he needs to feel challenged. I don't think he does feel challenged at United. And he obviously needs to be held accountable. But like these briefs in the press and things like that, I think if they've come from the dressing room, I think that there's a bit of a cheat, to be honest. Because can you imagine if De Gea was briefing the press every time he was saving us and bailing us out of games, saying, wow, have you seen the shit that's in front of me? And he'd be well within his rights to have done that, and he never has. And I feel like he's a player that, okay, he wanted to leave at one point. He didn't get his move. He never used that to like, be rude to the club, be negative around Old Trafford, be harmful in the dressing room. I think regardless of what happens with him on the pitch, whether he returns to form or not, I think we need to show him a little bit more respect.
Oh, fair comments. I get where you're coming from, and I think you're right about the sort of the plays he's had to play behind in the past and the way he's carried us through. Dale, I mean, he signed a new deal not long ago. I think he's one of the most or the highest paid keeper in the world. Do you think that was a mistake? Do you think United have backed themselves into a corner a little bit, or do you think that was something we had to do because of his stock was so high and he was ready to go?
I think hindsight here is a wonderful thing, but if you asked us all around the time when he's about to sign the contract. We all wanted him to sign it. It probably raised questions because at that time he wasn't really at his best either. And I don't think any other club in the world would have paid him what we're paying him. Now, of course, it seems like a bad idea, but I think that's unfair on the club because all the fans wanted De Gea given a new contract. I think the problem here is you look back to the 2018 World Cup with Spain when it just turned disastrous for him. And he never really bounced back from that. So it could be a confidence thing. But Manchester United can't keep showing our loyalty blindly to De Gea if we're dropping points. At the end of the day, our aim is to see progression. Our aim is to see United back challenging for titles. And if your goalkeeper is making those mistakes so regularly, you're not going to do that. And you've seen with Man City, you see Liverpool, Guardiola and Klopp, they had to make big changes when they came into the goalkeeper situation because they weren't going to win titles with what they had. I also think that I remember speaking to a journalist who covers Spain during that World Cup, and he made it very clear to me during the games that the two centre-backs, Ramos and Piqué, they weren't confident in De Gea playing behind them. And I'm looking at the defence now, which again can be shaky at times, but are they confident in the goalkeeper behind them? And Adam spoke about the Times report suggesting that the players are kind of questioning De Gea. Well, I can see why. And if that is the case, Solskjaer needs to make a change for the remaining 2 games, I think. I really do think so. If the defenders aren't confident in the goalkeeper behind them, that's a recipe for disaster.
I think that's true. And I think that's something that has to be held into, you have to question that when picking your team. But also, I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't confident with the defenders in front of him either.
Yeah.
Because for as good as our defensive record has been, and we've kept, X amount, I think it's 13 clean sheets in those 20 games, like, their performances haven't been great either. And you've seen the disappointment on the faces of the coaching staff and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer when they were watching that first goal back. Lindelof's got to come across his man. It's real simple defensive stuff. Like, you get bollocked at Sunday League for not doing things like that. But in professional football at the highest level, in a semi-final against Chelsea, and your 2 teammates have just taken a knock, Lindelof has to be so switched on there, and he's just not. And it's simple lapses of concentration that you see spreading from the defence or into the goalkeeper, or from the goalkeeper into the defence. And it's kind of like just a horrible cycle we've got going on at the moment. And we've kind of managed to get through it, had this decent record while still making mistakes. But it could cost us this week, really. Mikel Antonio, I know we'll talk about West Ham later, but Antonio and Vardy and those kind of players playing against that kind of defence, they'll be up for it, man.
Yeah, I mean, just picking up on something you said earlier as well, Ollie's got to be careful here, especially with Dean Henderson, because, Dean Henderson's not infallible. He's made mistakes at Sheffield United. He's had a great season, don't get me wrong. But, go back early in the season, the mistake against Liverpool, if that happens in a Manchester United shirt, then he's going to get a lot more sort of criticism than he got for Sheffield United. And it may well be that Dean Henderson isn't quite ready yet, or if you bring him in and it's a bit too soon, that could damage De Gea's confidence even more. So Ollie's got his work cut out sorting that one out. I don't envy him, but it's not just De Gea that's a problem, as we've seen. We've got question marks over our defence. I know we've got a good record, but if you look at the goals we've conceded, it's been sort of a catalogue of errors that have led to them. You go back to the Spurs game, you look at some of the other games, it's a defensive error, even amongst both centre-backs and then the goalkeeper. So it's not fair to just label all the problems at De Gea's door. Now, sort of moving on, we had that wonderful unbeaten run, great, some great results. Now it's coming to an end. How important is it? We had momentum, we haven't got that anymore, that we bounce back quickly, because we've seen this before under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. When he first took over as caretaker, we had a great run, and then when we started losing, the wheels came off. I know it's a different Manchester United side then, but it has happened in the past. How important do you think it is we bounce back immediately against West Ham and don't let this sort of derail our season, the result against Chelsea? Dale, I'll start with you.
I think this is where it depends, because we all agree that the players are looking quite leggy, and we're asking them to put in that extra graft now for the remaining 2 games and really push on. It probably comes into our favour on Wednesday night that West Ham are safe now. They haven't got too much to play for. But I also of the opinion that when you play against Manchester United, it's no team that's not going to give their all. it's the biggest club in the world, and there's a transfer market coming up. And I'm sure a lot of those players would rather be playing for a bigger club next season. So it's a stage for them to come out and to show what they're about. Bouncing back, it's massive. The players need to ask themselves: do you want to be in the Champions League next season? It's as simple as that. Every player that plays for Manchester United should be playing the Champions League. We should be in it every single season, and it takes a bit of a shine off things, because you mentioned this great unbeaten run. We could easily throw everything away in the next 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden it's a disastrous season. So we really do need to bounce back. The players need to ask themselves, like I said, do you want Champions League or not next season? Do you want to be seen as one of the bigger players and bigger teams in the world? That's the question. That's what's on the line.
Maka, do you agree?
Yeah, I think it is crunch time now, isn't it? And I think, look, I think we need to kind of, I'm confident that we will see a reaction. I'm confident that we will see, I could look stupid on Wednesday night, but I'm confident we will see a reaction. I have no doubt that Ollie will be in the dressing room stressing that to the players. And I have no doubt we will see a completely different 11. If we go back out there with Marshall, Rashford, Greenwood and Bruno and Pogba, it's a different team to what started. And that's what disappointed me almost. I don't know whether it's because I love the FA Cup so much, but just playing that team in a semi-final just really deflated me before the game even started. And I think we won't see that team again. And I think what that showed was we haven't got the quality and depth that we think we have, or we hoped we'd have. And even in midfield, where you're trying to make changes and you bring in McTominay and Fred, who have done fantastically well this season, you're also looking at them and they look like they're in the middle of pre-season. But when you think logically, like, that's where they're supposed to be at. They haven't been playing. The players that have been starting week in, week out have been caned. And then those ones that haven't been playing are still kind of regaining sharpness, probably getting off some of the cobwebs and a little bit of rust. And it's hard to see where they're at. So I think we'll be going back to that team that started 5 games in a row, or as close to it as possible. And I think we will see a reaction. I think you saw Martial came on the pitch. He was like looking different to every other player. He looked confident. And that's why the team selection just baffled me so much. But maybe Ollie has shown that, look, the FA Cup didn't save Van Gaal's job. You know what I mean? And I think in the long-term goals of Manchester United, Champions League football means more to us this season. Like, if we want to be able to sign Jadon Sancho, have a little bit extra money and do all these things, us having just won the FA Cup but maybe not getting Champions League football, it's not going to enable us to do that. So I get it, but I'm very disappointed. But I think we'll see a reaction. I really do. That's one thing I'm confident of, is that he'll get stuck into these and we'll get a reaction out of them.
No, I agree. I'm like you. I love the FA Cup, and it was disappointing when I saw that team. I was a little bit worried, the team that Ollie put out, and obviously it came to pass that it wasn't good enough. And it reminded me a little bit. I know this sounds a bit crackers, but going back to 2009, I remember when Fergie did it in the semi-final against Everton. He sort of rested everyone.
Oh yeah,
and
it's all right when you go into a Champions League final.
Yeah. I mean, it sort of gets forgotten about because we had a Champions League final and we won the league that season, but I just felt it was unnecessary. Everton beat us on penalties and it was such a fine margin that if we'd just played one or two of the better players, I think it could have been a better end to the season. But anyway, I digress. I mean, you've mentioned there, we've all spoken about David De Gea, spoken about, mixing up a bit. Dale, start with you. Your predicted 11. Does De Gea start? What's your team?
No, Romero's in goal. Based on what I said about the defenders not being confident in the goalkeeper behind him, it's a recipe for disaster. Look at that Mason Mount goal. I'm 100% certain. Me, Adam, Jay, we both saved that effort. It was right at him and pushed it back into his net. So I think confidence totally gone out of the defence. And I don't even think De Gea is confident in himself at the moment. And I think maybe, I'm not saying totally forget about De Gea and rip him out of the club. I'd say maybe a bit of time out might be what he needs right now, because everyone's looking at him. You see when the camera went on him after those mistakes, and being a goalkeeper is a lonely place anyway. It's extremely lonely for De Gea right now because all the fingers being pointed at him. And there is a bit of loyalty from me to De Gea for what he did. He was a great servant for United for many years. And as Makola said, there's been times where he was probably questioning a lot of the players in front of him. I think for his own sake, it's time to take him out for the remaining 2 games and see how it goes with Romero. A right back, I've gone for Wan-Bissaka. 2 centre backs, Maguire, Lindelof, and I've gone for Williams at left back. Midfield doesn't change too much with Matic, Fernandes, and Pogba. That's our best, and we have to go with our best remaining games. If players are feeling leggy, it doesn't matter. Do they want to be in the Champions League or not? That's the question. And up front, Greenwood, Martial, and Rashford. I just think, obviously, with the change with De Gea, that's my only really big one. Other than that, you have to go with your strongest 11.
No, I get where you're coming from. I mean, it's, big decision for Ollie to make, but, I'm positive we are going to see a much stronger team start against West Ham than we saw at Wembley. Maka, who have you gone for? Here we go.
De Gea's still in my goal, I don't know if I'm stupid or just, I don't know. I get what Dale's saying, man, but De Gea's my guy, man. I want to see him get back to where he was. And I know, he maybe needs a rest and he maybe needs to get pulled out. Mentally, he's going to be tired, he's going to be fatigued. He's going to be feeling down. It's only natural, but I want him to come back. I'm picking him. David De Gea in goal. Fuck that. Stand by him, man. He'll come back. I don't think he's done, I just think something's wrong with him, man. What's wrong with him? He's not done. He can't be done. He still makes the saves he's always made.
He's only 29, isn't he?
He still makes them saves. It's just that we just need to let people shoot at him all game again, like the old days, so he can just be ready all the time. I don't know what it is. It's just, oh man, it's sad to see, man. I actually feel it in my chest when I'm talking about him. And Dale was then saying let's not force him out of the club, but it's kind of oh man, this is De Gea, this is our guy Dave. Do you remember? Yeah, we need to get Dave back in there. Let's do this, De Gea. Yeah, I'm not that confident in Romero either, to be honest. I just rather put De Gea in. In the defence, it's hard. It's a hard one. I thought Wan-Bissaka had a shocker. I thought Williams had a shocker. I thought Maguire, Lindelof, all had shockers. Some of them are going to have to play because of where we're at. There's no Twanzebe, there's no Bailly. How big of an opportunity would this have been for Twanzebe, by the way? And he's just injured at the moment. It's really got him. So we're going to see Lindelof and Maguire again. We're probably going to see Wan-Bissaka. I wouldn't be surprised that if Shaw, I'll go with Shaw. But if he's not available, I wouldn't be surprised to see if it was Delo. The worst thing you want to do with Brandon is he makes another mistake. And, I know his wasn't the biggest of errors and all that kind of thing, but he is a young player. We don't want to destroy him. And, just take him out a little bit, especially if Luke Shaw's back, because Luke Shaw was playing well before he got injured. I kind of feel like we might see McTominay come in for this one. I wasn't impressed with Matic against Chelsea. Since he signed his deal, it seemed to have... but yeah, let's hope that's just fatigue as well, because he's not, starting 5 league games on a spin and doing all that stuff for him. He's come a long way from where he was even 6 months ago. So I'd go with McTominay, Pogba, and then the same front four: Bruno, Greenwood, Rashford, Martial. I'm just sticking by De Gea, man.
Yeah, do you know what? I mean,
it might be stupid.
Go on.
It might be stupid, but
it is difficult because you can't ignore what he's done. But I think because this is a predicted 11, I've gone with De Gea because I think Ollie will stick with him. I do. I just don't see Ollie dropping him. Not at least not in the league. It's different kettle of fish in the Europa. And if Romero starts in the Europa, that people won't really question that. But I think now they would, and I think he'll stick with De Gea. So I've gone with a very sort of similar team to you guys. I've gone with the only sort of change I've made is I've gone with Fosu Mensah at left back. I think he did all right against Palace. It was a bit of a shock when he started, obviously. Took him a little while to get into the game, as you'd expect. He's not played any football for over 1,000 days. But I thought he did okay. So I'm with you on the Brandon Williams front backer. I think he might just need taking out the firing line again. Don't know what's
happening. That's mental considering I've said start De Gea, right? That is some unbelievable gymnastics. But I think Brandon's young, do you know what I mean? You don't want him to have another one and another one and then just completely destroys him.
Can I just say too, sorry, just on Williams, and I know totally you're right, being a young player, but I do also think that Solskjaer, when he's bringing young players into the team, he's got a massive understanding about these young players are going to make mistakes. And I think if you take Williams out, you're almost dealing with him in a certain way that I don't think is right. I think he's going to make mistakes. He's going to make mistakes pretty much throughout the season. He's still young. He's learning his trade. We've seen in the past few weeks, since Shaw has been out, what he actually does to the team on that left flank. I know he's not the best left back in the world, but when he doesn't play, we do miss his presence in the team. So if he is fit, I would definitely throw him in, but I'm not sure about Fosu Mensah yet. And I think he did just come back to one game, and we've mentioned about McTominay not quite being at the races and looking like it's kind of pre-season, but it's very difficult for a player to come into a team if he's not playing week in, week out. And I think people can jump to conclusions, be overly critical of these players when they don't play well, but it's very difficult to come into a team when you're not a regular and you're just basically expected to perform 10 out of 10 when you're thrown into the mix. So yeah, it's a lot of decisions for Solskjaer to make. Obviously, that left back one with Fosu Mensah is a good shout as well.
Yeah, I only got to left back.
Oh yeah, I think we'll be surprised though about the Europa coming up. Like if we get Champions League qualifications through the league, I think he just treats Europa League like pre-season. If he's done this to the FA Cup, I can see him just being like, "Fuck this, let's get ready for September." And I'll just rotate my squad completely in the Europa League. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Sorry, Jay.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Hopefully, I can get through the rest of my team without getting stopped at every single player and ripped to pieces. The rest of the team is really unexciting. I've gone with Lindelof and Maguire. I've gone with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I've gone with Matic. I get where you're coming from, that he looks a bit leggy, but I don't know. I just think that he's been so crucial this season, the end sort of post-lockdown, that I can see Ollie sticking with him. And I've gone with the same front five that you'd expect. Greenwood coming back in for James, Martial up top with Rashford just off him, and obviously Pogba and Bruno. Now listen, looking at the opposition, I love Rio Ferdinand. He's done such great things for this football club. But one of my favourite moments from Rio recently was when he threw Adam McCullough completely under the bus when Maka questioned Declan Rice. And I'll ask you, Maka, looking at West Ham, have you changed your mind? Do you still think Declan Rice is overrated?
Yes. And I'll tell you why. Dale's nodding, because we know why Dale's nodding. You probably can't stand him either. But no, look, Declan Rice is a decent young player. If he came through the academy, I wouldn't mind him being a part of Manchester United's squad and being in a team. If you could pick him off from a team in the Championship or lower half of the table for about 20, 30 million, go for it. But when you think about some of the fees that will be involved with signing Declan Rice, and some of the fees that they already talk about, and the way that they just talk about him in general, I find it bizarre. He's not that good. And the thing I said about West Ham was, the quote came out of context almost, like, I said, anything that comes through their academy now is overrated. And someone was like, oh, Rio and Carrick and all that. And like, obviously I wasn't talking about them. I was talking about nowadays, because of the great things that have come through their academy in the past, from Bobby Moore down to the greatest defender of all time, Rio Ferdinand. But because of all those great things that happen, as soon as a player comes through now, he's Bobby Moore, and he's this and he's that, he's the next. And it's like, no, it's not. You're not the Academy of Football. You're a decent club in London who had a great past with bringing players through. And look, Declan Rice is a decent talent. But if you're telling me, should United be spending 60, 70, 80 million on him? Not in my opinion. That's the only thing in it. If we can get him for 30 million, take him.
You did get thrown under the bus a bit, though. The fact that Rio got onto it and was like, it was taken out of context, like you were saying that everyone that's ever come from West Ham isn't any good. A player that's been mentioned.
Rice, after they beat us, was liking my tweets. I didn't even at him.
He was getting well involved, bless him. Mentioned him earlier, Dale, Mikhail, Antonio. I mean, he scored 4 goals in a game the other week, which was just the most shocking thing I think I've ever seen. But he is having a good season. He's obviously scoring goals. We've mentioned our frailties, if you can call it that, in defence. Are you worried about facing an in-form Antonio?
I am, because every week when Victor Lindelof starts, I think people try and pick out his flaws, and we can all accept that. I don't think he's a very good defender anyway. I think I expect those mistakes in his game when he starts. But someone who people are totally forgetting, I think since we've returned to football after this, or since after the suspension of football, Harry Maguire has been desperate. And I think people totally are ignoring that. People are pointing out that Lindelof is the problem and that we should get a partner for Harry Maguire. No, I've not been impressed since the return of football when Maguire's making mistake, concentration lapses. And when you're up against a centre forward, like we're talking about, who's in form, and you're starting two of them, yeah, I'm worried. Absolutely worried, because if they continue to form they've shown in recent weeks, that's not good. And there's a reason to be worried. He needs to show the form that he showed before the football stopped, and he was a leader on and off the pitch. And I also have a strong opinion that if United are to really improve this defence, I don't think Harry Maguire should be the leading centre back. He should be definitely starting, but he shouldn't be our best one. And Antonio will be definitely looking at two of them and who can I take advantage of. And that puts United a little bit on the back foot from the beginning. There's a goalkeeping situation too. West Ham players will fancy their chances. So everyone, we need everyone defensively to be putting a solid performance. No lapses of concentration at all, because that's just not good enough. Not at this level when you're really on the brink of getting back into the Champions League and then hopefully getting into that, getting better players in the summer and fighting for the league. Because with that defence, although we've said it's improved this season, there's centre forwards up and down the league that look at some of our defenders and say, I'm going to target him. And that shouldn't be the case when you're playing against Manchester United.
No, I mean, we made Junior Stanislav look like Messi, so it does worry you when you face a striker who is banging in the goals. We'll crack on to your predictions. Macro, I'll start with you. How do you see this one going?
2-1 to Manchester United. It's going to be squeaky.
Squeaky bum time. I'll take that. Dale, do you agree United win?
Yeah, I think United win. It's crucial that we start faster than we have in recent weeks. We're starting games way too slowly. That first goal is big in a game like this, because I think West Ham, if they concede an early goal, they've nothing to play for. They're not going to really bust their gut then. I fancy United to react. I think the Solskjaer want them to give a good response after crashing out of the FA Cup in such a fashion. Disappointing performance and result, losing 3-1 to Chelsea. So I think I'm going to go with 3-0 United. I'm going to go with a clean sheet because I fancy Romero in this one, Adam.
Oh, shots fired.
I hope we do keep a clean sheet, but I'm not doing that, Dave. I just want Dave to know I'm still with you
Spanish
in
Dave.
these goals. What's that quote from Batman? You live, what is it? You know what it is, Jay.
What? Some men just want to see the world burn.
Hero.
Oh, yeah.
You live long enough to be the hero.
Yeah. See yourself become the villain. Yeah.
That's what's happened to Dave.
You're not wrong. He is becoming a bit
not
of a villain.
Not on my watch, though.
It's sad to see, but McCullough's not going to let that happen. Listen, I'm a bit worried with this. Our record again, we play West Ham near the end of the season a lot. And historically...
Tevez, 1-0.
Yeah. We've not got a good record against him. I remember 95. I remember we've played him like last few seasons a few times as well, and we've not beat him. But, it is Moyes. So I think we should be able to beat a David Moyes team no matter what.
David Moyes, not...
Seriously. Come on.
Okay.
He can't cost us 2 Champions League places in one lifetime. So I'm going to go with... I'll go with a scrappy 1-0 United win. Harry Maguire to pop up with a corner, with a header.
He could get a hat-trick a game, the amount of headers he gets.
If one of his headers gets on target, maybe.
David De Gea to get a clean sheet, Harry Maguire to score the winner, everyone to be happy, United to get top 4, happy days. Just before wrap up, Dale, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Stretty News. You can read the blog at strettynews.com. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for having me, lads.
Not at all. And Maka, you'll be here for the watch along on Wednesday night?
Yeah, unfortunately.
And that's the sort of enthusiasm you're going to get on the watch along.
Come on, De Gea, lad.
Come on, De Gea.
Tune in for a De Gea clean sheet.
Yes. That's been Adam McCullough. That's been Dale O'Donnell. I've been Jay. This has been the Stretford Paddock West Ham preview. Don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.